Hey everybody, real quick, I wanted to show you n8n's template library down here. Helps you learn a lot about AI agents and specifically building in n8n as you go. In this first tutorial, we are going to be building our first AI agent using this template, and that automatically creates this handy workspace. Now, I know a couple of you guys might be thinking, Josh, what even is an AI agent? Well, it's essentially ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek. Any of those are LLMs, and AI agents are when we customize them by adding custom instructions and memory and tools and a couple of other handy things. It's really where a lot of the automation magic starts, because you can essentially build AI into traditional automations. Now, not every AI agent is an automation. In fact, they're completely different things. And automation is when we build something that runs automatically and it does the same thing every time. For example, we can build an automation that runs at 8 a.m. every morning. It grabs the weather forecast for that day and emails it to us. Something like that is handy, but none of it involves AI. AI agents, meanwhile, use AI as the driving force and are able to execute different automations, grab data from different places, that sort of thing, based on what it thinks the user wants to happen. So in this example, our AI agent can get weather or get the news based on what it thinks the user is curious about, but it doesn't run automatically on its own. And it also doesn't have a static path forward. Both of these systems, AI agents and also automations, are very useful in their own right. Automations are very static, and that can be a strength and a weakness at the same time. Meanwhile, AI agents are very flexible, and that at the same time is its biggest strength and its biggest weakness, which means the ability to solve valuable problems in business and life is to put the two together to get the best of both worlds. Now, we're going to be doing that in the future, but for now, I just want to show you how to walk before you run. This is what the template has given us. It includes some handy text and video instructions, which is really nice. I know this chat model is for Google Gemini, but I am going to go ahead and use something called Open Router, and I'll get to show you why in just a moment. Now, if we double click on our Open Router node, that is going to open up the configuration. On the left side, we're going to see the data coming into that node, and on the right, we're going to see the data coming out. Now, up at the top in the middle, these are going to be our settings and parameters, by the way. The top of params is always going to be where you authenticate. Since I have a couple of Open Router credentials already, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Open Router account. That's going to go to an existing credential. Now, how do you create a credential? You go to the bottom here, hit create new credential, and it's going to ask for an API key. Open Router is thankfully possibly one of the easiest nodes you can possibly set up in n8n, and I'll show you why. Now, all you do is go to openrouter.ai, set up your account, and on the corner over here, and in the top right corner over here, you're going to see credits, keys, activity, and a couple of other settings. Now here you can hit create API key, and it's going to ask you for a name for your API key, and if you'd like to give it a credit limit, you can go ahead and put one in here. And you can also see these advanced settings. It's only one at the moment. Go ahead and hit create. Now this is very, very important. You are going to want to copy this API key and paste it somewhere very safe, because as you can see here, you are not going to be able to see it again. This is pretty normal security behavior for API key services. Once you create a key, that is the only time you'll be able to see the full text of the key. So it's important to keep it somewhere very safe, ideally a password manager or API key manager. Now I'm going to paste that in here and we'll hit save. And now we get to pick our model. Now this is why I love OpenRouter, and this is in fact why I use it for most of my projects, because you get to pick from so many different models. I usually go for GPT 4.1 mini because that's cheap and it has a pretty big context window. Now you can also use Google/Gemini. Look at that. We'll go with Google Gemini Flash o1. There are also DeepSeek models that you can access in here. There are Anthropic models, Perplexity. If I'm doing something very intelligent and I want a very low hallucination rate, I will usually go for a model like Sonar Pro or Sonar Reasoning Pro. So the Perplexity models are very, very useful in that regard. But for this example, we'll just stick with Gemini 2.0 Flash o1 because the template started us with Gemini. Now we are all ready to start using this. Aren't templates so much fun? So let me send a message. What's the weather like in Orem, Utah tomorrow? All right, so that was pretty fast. That was pretty darn fast. But to walk you through what just happened, this chat trigger picked up our message, sent it to our AI agent, and it used the OpenRouter chat model, Gemini Flash o1 in this case. It checked if there were past messages in our conversation that it needed to remember, and of course there weren't any. This is our first one, and then it made an API call to grab the weather data. So look at this. The weather in Orem, Utah tomorrow, September 22nd, 2025, will have a high of 76.8 and a low of 57. There will be some precipitation with a total of 1.7 millimeters expected. The current temperature is 63.3 Fahrenheit, and the wind speed is 7.6 kilometers an hour. That's actually much more data than I thought we would get in this run, so quite impressive. Anything else I can help you with regarding the weather or perhaps another topic? Would you mend I bring an umbrella? Based on the forecast of light precipitation, it might be good to bring one just in case. Okay, makes sense. See, it didn't even need to get the weather data that time because it was already in our memory model that, hey, yeah, we're expecting some light rain. So, really quick tutorial. I hope you learned a little bit and that this inspired you to perhaps explore the possibilities of you building for yourself in n8n. And with that, be sure to leave a like, share your thoughts with the class, and before you subscribe, make sure you know what you're doing, because it ain't easy being at the top. We'll see you guys next time.
Black fin cutting through the blazing rain. Thunder rolling, but I ride the wave again. Deep tide rising, hear the echo call. Born of the fury, I was made to stand tall. Flying through the surf in a vicious arc, light in the abyss, yeah, I blaze.